gentlemen, was a district-wide action plan. The district identified literacy, reading, as their biggest problem. And they worked on an action plan, and we went through the process, and dear colleagues, before the end of the process, we then at least started implementing and supporting the action plan. So the initial findings from our research was, and some concerns that emerged from the focus group interviews, was, colleagues, that wrong button every time, the principal and the district official didn't really understand their true role of an instructional leader. They were really administrators. They were managers, as my colleague said earlier. And the focus was not on instruction and developing teachers so that they become better teachers. Then from the district side, they were highly frustrated, stressed, demoralized, because many of them didn't even have the IDSOs at that stage, didn't know what the job description was. They didn't know where to go to. We had common themes in both the groups, a bit of chaos, a bit of haphazard things are being done, haphazardly, there's no real planning. And then the most important thing that came from principals was that officials only ensure compliance. They throw the book at you. They want you to do things according to the policy. And that is where the ceiling came in when the A students couldn't move forward. And then lack of planning, and when we spoke about lack of planning, it was lack of district-wide planning. The district really acted on they send you instructions a day before, or meeting notice a day before. Some schools even complain they received the meeting notice days after the meeting. And it was quite difficult, and one of the issues that came out was a lack of planning. And one of the biggest issues was system-wide communication with colleagues. That there's no real communication channels, and the communication channels that are there are not very good. So what are some of the lessons we learned from this? I'm really watching my time and really trying to finish. I'm not even breathing at this stage. The first thing, ladies and gentlemen, was for us to ensure, and I think this was important, to create a culture of collaboration in the district. Making them realize that the district is there to support the school, and most of all, to support the teacher at chalk face level. And dear colleagues, we had to talk about this. We had to really, and part of the difficult conversation was to understand what are the common values that we all ascribe to in education. What is it that makes us tick? Why are we in this calling, if I could put it that way? And what we have found was there's a lot of common values. I remember we had a lady by the name of Dr. Naran who really set the scene that day with soft music. And we had this wonderful session on values, and we all ascribed these values, and then we had a difficult conversation after that. And then we looked at leadership styles. There was a lot of issues around leadership styles, and also forgetting that the instructional leadership should actually be at the forefront. We should really focus on instruction. And I think most importantly, it was clarifying roles. And what was wonderful was because they were trained in common sessions, because we had common sessions where we had a district office and the principals being trained together, and then we had breakaway sessions where we had principals going on their own and the district office, because we felt that they have issues that they needed to sort out. And we found that the district office realized that the precious principals are under. But more than that, the principals realized that the district official doesn't only serve my school. The district official has a number of schools to serve. So sometimes I am unreasonable to expect that they will just jump when I tell them to jump. And that was the relationships that we built. The second thing, ladies and gentlemen, was communication. And I think the biggest issue we had there was a trust issue. Is that 2 minutes, Professor? Okay, and it was inter-organizational negotiation skills. Then we came to the overcoming barriers, and some of the barriers that we had to overcome was racial barriers, issues around the unions, and we had to address those up front so that we could sort them out. And then dealing with tough issues in schools, we had to address. And in colleagues, just to get back, that was the bridge building phase. We had to build the bridge before we could cross the bridge. And in the bridge crossing phase, I'm not going to talk too much about this, it was all about implementing the action plan that we all put together. And I must tell you, that was a great plan that they came up with. we came back from Harvard and we presented that plan to the wider district, and it was a very excellent plan, and there was peer support, district support, and this is where we moved from compliance to support. I'm really the professor. And colleagues, this is what the MEC said when she announced the results. Now the MEC said to us, if you can make this work in Johannesburg Central, we will listen to you. And if you look at, I'm not going to read the whole thing, sorry, you can read it later, but if you look at, it's no accident, I believe, that the results in Johannesburg Central are up by 12 percentage points, from a pass rate of 6.8 to 7.79, 67.8 to 79.9.